Right, hello, back again. I was just meditating, so I love the smell of them incense. I only got them yesterday. So I just want to talk a bit more about the language and the frequencies. So I was just meditating for a bit, and I was just having loads of insights, so I thought I'd just do a quick video about it. And Anonymous Pilot made a comment which I thought was relevant as well, so I thought I would do this video. And he was saying about what if you're born into this world without knowing language. And when you actually think about that, and then I replied, most of the animals are born into this earth without knowing their language. But then you look at the bloodlines, and it's like we're programmed language through school, and then down and down and down and down and down. So the language is really within the blood almost, the programming, the frequency resonance of it. So if we're looking at certain words, they'd hold like certain key resonances even within the subconscious. So for instance, like cancer is a huge one that everyone can get aside. Like when everyone has to go through the process of having cancer, whatever, even the word is like making people sick because of the thought process that's connected to it. So it's like a web resonance, if that makes sense. So like, I don't always talk a lot because I'm not always on there chatting all the time, or I'm not always doing things with other people. I'm alone quite a lot, so my energy is like quite within. When I'm painting, I'm not really talking. My energy is going out in different ways into different things. So when I'm painting, I'm following my energy out that way, whereas most people would be talking or like going in other forms. So like it's like I can condense my energy and push it out in other ways. So when I get down to the bottom of my subconscious, and then I'm editing my frequency ranges, so like when I think of cancer, then I'm going to hit that energy loop where everyone's like in fear of having cancer and dying, and then you get to death, and then you get to the families that are dealing with that, and then when you like hook onto that thread of it, and then I'll really analyse it and go down to it, and then I'll dig it at the bottom of my subconscious, and then I'm editing my views on that topic, and then I've almost edited and then stuck that edit to that part of my deep understanding of that. So when we're doing this to all of the language and how we then view that language, then it's a different edit. Does that make sense? I'll answer it in a minute. So it's a different edit, and then when I'm speaking about these certain things, I don't attach that energy to it subconsciously. So this is why when I'm talking about certain things, my frequency is different on certain words, because I've edited all my deep subconscious meanings to them. So when you bring up certain things, like if you're talking to someone who wasn't doing something good with the government or whatever, and then you said something else, and then they'd like have the fear because that depth of frequency is to that piece of language with that frequency tone. If you look at the earth now, if you come above it subconsciously and you look down on the earth as a whole, and you just look at everyone talking, like me talking now is giving out energy. So then you've got like certain languages which seems like Icelandic, and that is like really abrupt, or like German, even because I don't understand the languages, but I understand the frequency of it. So even when people in different countries are talking, then I understand the tones that they're doing. Like a lot of my Cypriot friends would always sit around me and talk Cypriot, and I wouldn't understand it because I spent so long with them. They talk half English, half Cypriot sometimes. I would understand even what they're talking about without even understanding the actual words because of their body language and their tone. Yeah. So I've been in this situation quite a lot of times because a lot of my friends are foreign, and I've travelled quite a bit and been in these, like every time I've travelled, I've just lived the way they live in their countries. Like when we went to Tanzania, Africa, I lived in that family, how they eat, the food they eat. When I went out to Cambodia, the food they eat, the same in Thailand. Like all these countries I go to, I like to embody their culture. And you start realising where the actual baseline of it all comes to, because it is just shape and form and energy. So yeah, when look where the English language is, that's the biggest web, isn't it? That's the biggest web of frequency. So every word is carrying a certain tone. And then when Anonymous Pilot said about when he said about people being born not understanding the language. But then I said all the animals are born not understanding the language, so how do we communicate with animals? Because I'm quite telepathic with the animals, so then we understand the telepathy and at a baseline there. So for instance, I always understood telepathy quite well because of my horse, because I've had my horse for like 19 years. So I used to show jump competing, and I used to have to build quite a strong bond with the horse, you know, to be able to do it, because can be quite dangerous sometimes. So how do you build the bond with the horses? What tone do animals respond to? Like when you talk to your dogs or your cats or whatever animal, you use like a tone. You're like, come here. Ooh, you change your tone, and then that's when they come, because you're more high pitched. So like for instance, when you're lunging a horse, so you have your horse in a circle for exercise and you're not riding it. We used to do this at the showgrounds I used to go to, and if you want the horse to go faster and like pick up to trot, you go ooh, and you like raise your voice higher and faster, and then that's when they pick up the speed, and then they go into trot and then into canter and then faster and faster. And if you want them to walk or slow down, almost come to a stop, you go woo, and you come lower and lower. And like the Mongolian throat singers, that's another one. Back in the day, they carry like one of the oldest frequencies, where they would sit in the mountains, and the Mongolian throat singing, where they're going really low and really high at the same time, is from the mountains, because the mountains are still. So they became still in that frequency, and then they would travel, and then they would show off their pride of the land, if you like. That's how they would show off how their land is, through performing the Mongolian throat singing to other people they travelled to, and then that was their like riches, their gift almost. So their gift was their frequency, what they learnt from their piece of the Mother Earth, of the land. Yeah, so these are forms of language and communications. Yeah, and then a lot of the other people, they're not using these languages, so it's like we're capped in this language, in this like sandwiched almost in the language. So we need to actually get out of it by changing the tones. Yeah, so like the cymatics and that again, isn't it? Yeah, and then it goes into colour as a language, because then that's shape and form through here. Yeah, and everything is the chemical reaction. So everyone's actually even wasting energy by even speaking it. Because look at the earth. Look how much energy is being produced through us, just for us speaking. If everyone on the earth right now, this second, stopped speaking, and then all started thinking, and then put it there, you know, when they do like the minute silence and that, then they're putting their energy into war. Do you get what I mean? If everyone was just quiet and then chose how to filter their energy out in separate ways, in different ways, or even together, if you had like crowds of people doing the Mongolian throat singing or humming at the bottom of their stomachs if they practiced it, how much energy would that give off just from groups of people coming together? So when we do look at it, yeah, the animals, they have more energy, and how do they communicate with each other? They don't. They use their instinct, because they're the most connected to the earth. They will even pull us out and help us heal eventually, because they're healing on their own, their energies. Can you always feel it, you know, if I'm not feeling great and the dogs come sit next to me, all of our bellies going boo, like Reiki, you know, and it is all changing. But the frequency again is the cymatics. Even as I'm talking now, I'm probably changing my waters in my body, because that's a form of frequency cymatics. So the language is fake, false, fake. It needs to go, and then we need to change the energy. Like I said, the brain of the internet, unplug that and then plug it into the World Wide Web. But then we need to change our internal systems of energy too, at the same time. So then that would allow us to shatter all the languages, and then we've got that energy of people talking to put into something else, to put into something new. She agrees. So yeah, I thought I'd upload that and say hello again. But yeah, I'm gonna go now, and yeah, I know YouTube might be stopping the comments, and this is also going to be a separation, because if people start going onto other platforms, I just want to mention really quick, people start going onto other platforms, then that's a separation of the global one consciousness happening with the languages and that, because at the moment we're meeting people from all over the world on here, and this is what they don't want connecting. So yeah, just keep update with it, and I think we should all just still keep doing the videos on here, and we can just talk about it on, like, the comments we would write, we can just do in other videos, to make more videos and make them shorter or something like that. It will still work, the consciousness will find a way around it, it's got so clever right now. And yeah, just keep connecting to the Wood Wide Web and your nervous system, and then just try and be aware of the words, and even just only say things if you really need to right now, and just choose where you're putting your energy. It's your energy. You know, I know people have to go to work and all these things like that, but can you imagine, just even the sounds, you know? It's crazy when you really think about it in detail, and you really think about it. Because, you know, what frequency it is, and we've got the birds as well, but what frequency is going on the somatic-wise in all the living waters here, really. Right, anyway, I'm out. Have a good day.